All right, now we are on Excel Chapter 3, Charts and Graphs, and you're going to find this really useful in your academic career, even if you never use it professionally, because you're always creating things that you have to have a chart or a graph for. And it's actually pretty simple if you realize that everything you do in a chart and graph, you can do and redo. And you don't have to delete the graph. You can change so many things about it while you're working on it. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a clustered column chart. And this is really easy. There are easy ways and there are hard ways to do everything. The most important part of a chart is going ahead and selecting the area that you really want. So I want my labels. Actually, you know what? I want those year labels too. And if I don't select them, it's not going to put them on there. So I'm going to select all of this data for my clustered bar chart. And then I'm going to drop this down, and when I hover over it, it says a clustered column. That's exactly what I want. But a really important thing to know is that as I move around, it shows me what the chart is going to look like with my data. So here we go. I'm going to choose a clustered bar chart. I'm going to move it out of the way a little bit and click in here. So we've got the legend down here. We've got our value axis. We've got our category axis. Value axis and category axis don't always have to be horizontal or vertical. We can tell this is a value axis because it is values. And this is the category axis, the years, which is the categories which refer to those values. I have my title, which I do not have one, and I want one, so I'm going to put problems. Oh, that was nice, wasn't it? There we go. And when I hit enter, it actually put a hard return in there, which I don't really want. Now, if I wanted to change the font, make it bold, make it a little bit larger, there we go. That didn't work very well. Okay, so it can't actually make it larger because it's really small. Now, what if I actually want this on its own sheet rather than having it here, and I've already put it here? I don't have to delete it and start over. I can right-click it, but I do want you to notice while we're here that all the while that I'm working on the chart, it's showing me the data that it's using. And that's really handy to make sure that you have done the right thing. So I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to select Move Chart. And I want it a new sheet, and I want it named Problems. Or I could have it as an object in any other sheet that I have. And maybe I would want a sheet of several charts that were on one page, and so I could have that. But this is the way we're going to do it. All right. Now, it's all by its little lonesome self. So I have this axis, and we have a lot of options that we can apply, and if you don't know where they are, just hit Format Chart Data, and I can go to Format Axis. And when I go to Format Axis, here I have Axis Options, but I also can select anything on here that I want to format. But right now I'm formatting the value axis, and I can tell it what I want the major units to be are millions. Actually, what I meant to say was it was display units that I want to be millions. And notice that it changes. So that's a little more readable to me, 6543. And I could tell it values in reverse order. Don't really like that so much. Okay, when I expand these tick marks, major types, let's go inside, minor, outside. So look at our tick marks. It's kind of nice. And then down here, I can change the format of the number. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that it's actually a number. So we don't really need to do much to it. If it was money, we would change it to currency, show that it would show dollar signs, and it would reveal that. But that's where you find all of these, and sometimes they get lost. So you can expand and contract, and it'll help you to not lose the options. Now let's look at some of the options for our other axis. And so I want you to notice text direction. There might be a time when you actually would want to rotate your text. So you had something really long and they were running into each other. And center middle, right middle, left middle. Okay, so you have all of those options. You also have options for fill and line, and this is where you're going to find it if your instructions tell you to use those. And then we can apply some effects to it, but you've got to be careful whenever you start applying effects to charts, because you can make them look really wild and you can totally lose the focus of the data. So you have to always remember that whatever elements you add to it should point to the whole overall point of it. Now, when I click on this data point, it selects every data point in that series. And if I only wanted one, I would click again, and then I would get the one data point. Now, I could apply different things. So if I go to add a data label here, it's only going to add the data label on one of them because I only had one selected. If I click this and it clicks the whole series and I do add data labels, it adds it to all of them. So if you click one time, it selects all of them, all the data points in a series, and if you click again, it selects only that particular data point, and that'll be important now and later. You also have options for your legend. So your legend can be top, bottom, top, right. Show the legend without overlapping the chart, and generally that is the way that they want it. You actually can just move it around also. And let's put it on the right. There we go. Let's put it on the top. There we go. So your instructions are going to tell you to deal with other parts. So the parts of a chart are here. We have chart area, chart title, horizontal axis, category, in this case, legend, plot area. So if you have an instruction and you're not real sure what it's talking about, so plot area, let's go ahead and look at the fill options. And let's go to fill, and how about we put a picture or a gradient fill? There you go. Well, not terribly bad, but we could insert a picture from a file. And I do not have a lot of pictures or any on this computer to be able to demonstrate this, so I'm going to pause real quickly and add one. All right, so you know that if I'm going to put a picture in and I'm just going to pull one out of my pictures, it's going to be a picture of me. So I am going to go to a file, and it's going to ask me where, and I'm going to tell it it's in downloads. And this is a picture of my first swarm. That's what put me in the beekeeping business. Look at those cute little bees all clustered there, and they did eventually go inside and make their home inside that box. So I have a picture, and it's going to ask you to do this in one of your exercises. And you know what? That really does not look professional at all. So I'm going to go to pattern fill, and I'm going to look at different patterns that don't hurt your eyes. And I'm not finding these patterns to be very good. So let's go to picture or texture, and go here and choose. Oh, I like that. Look at that. That's very nice. Now, when you hover over these, it'll tell you what the name of it is. Blue tissue paper, and I think you use this in one of your exercises, very possibly on this very chart. So that's how you do it. Now let's look at some other types of charts. So I'm going to go back over here to our data, and let's think about some other kinds of charts. So we might want a pie chart. Now for a pie chart, you only have one series of data in a pie chart, and I want to go ahead and grab my labels, and then I'm going to hold down the control key, because that's how you select non-continuous areas, is by making one selection and then hold down the control key as you make the second selection. And then I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I want a pie chart. And I just want this plain pie chart here. I like that. Okay, so what this is this is 2014 and 2014. We'll do that. And I'm going to click once and I select all the data series. Then I'm going to click twice and select only this data series because I want to show you how to explode it. And we explode it by going here and clicking on the series options, and we have point explosion right there, and we have that point selected, and notice that I can explode it. So that's what it means. And if I had selected all of them, so how about we just select that one, point explosion, this one. We could have done them all at once and it would have looked a little better. Now I'm going to click on them and I want to add data labels. There we go. We've got data labels now. And there is another little tiny sliver hiding in there. There we go. That's better. Where did it go? Just keep clicking. If all else fails, just click, click, click. All right. And just like the other one, we have options. So legend, plot area, series 1 data labels, chart title. So I can change some formatting options with my chart title. I can give it some fill, gradient fill. There we go, gave it gradient fill. I think I kind of want my chart area. Let's go with chart area and fill and put a gradient fill on that. And that's okay. So there are the options for the pie chart. All right, I've got a different data set here to show you now a clustered column. And in order to create a custom column, we are going to need these. We don't need the category totals, and we need this. So it's discontinuous data like it was for the pie chart. So I'm going to go ahead and select this data first. Then I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to select percent of month. And again, I go ahead and pick up my labels because that just makes my life easier to already have those. And then I'm on insert. And in order to insert a cluster column, I actually have to go to more column charts. And then I want a combo. And it shows me right here what it's going to look like. So that's pretty nice. And that's exactly what I want, a cluster column with a line. Hit OK. And that is how you get that done. All right. Just like all of our elements, whenever we are on the chart, we have a Design tab and we have a Format tab. In the Design tab, we have chart styles, so we can use our little drop. Apparently, these are all the chart styles we have available to us. So we click on the one, and when we hover over it, it should give us a tooltip and it says Style 4, Style 2, and we change the style of it. Now, last, I want to show you how to add spark lines, and spark lines are just the coolest thing ever. So first I'm going to select the data that I want to spark line. It's just a little mini graph, and I really think they're cool beans. So here we go, spark lines right here. Notice we've got a little groove and a line, and there's my data range. I already had it selected, and the location where I want it now. So my cursor is there. And I'm going to tell it that's where I want it. I'm going to hit OK. And look at that. I've got little graphs that show the trends and that is really, what if I made it wider? Does it become more apparent? Well, yes, it does. And there are a lot of options. So I've got marker colors. I've got a marker for high, low. I've got sparkline colors. I could create something a little more vivid. I also have sparkline styles. And I can tell it that I want the first point, the last point, the markers, or maybe I don't want markers and I just want the high point and the low point shown. And that's pretty interesting. We know that right there, that's where the low point occurred for it, and it tells you, what the trend is. Everybody went down this year except them. They went up. Everybody went up and they went down. So apparently on-time arrivals goes the opposite direction of, well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? That on-time arrivals would increase at a time when late arrivals, canceled arrivals, and diverted arrivals decreased. Makes perfect sense. So this concludes our quick little overview of Chapter 3, Charts and Graphs, Visual Data. I want to remind you again, though, that your chart and your graph should always point to the data, and it should make the data more understandable. So don't add elements to it that actually distract from the message that you are attempting to convey.